Last week, we made the bold claim that the Western Splatoon scene was beginning to catch up to the Japanese scene, but following this week, we may have to make some changes to that statement. Not because we were wrong per se, but specifically EU teams and players appear to be coming out on top of it all. The French, the German, the Spanish, even the British and Irish are all finding themselves at the front of the pack, standing tall as some of the strongest outside of Japan. Hi, I'm Rocket, and let's break it down here in the Weekly Ink. Starting out with our weeklies, Bajas Blast number 39 saw a bit of a smaller turnout than usual with just 23 teams, likely due to an event held at the same time that day, which we'll discuss later. Thanks to this, lots of mid to high level teams who would usually not stand much of a chance against the stronger contenders got to take their shot at winning it all. While they all played the best they could, none stood a chance against Minju Fan Club made up of Birdly, Phoenix, Joel, Pulp, and Bungie. The team had a fairly easy bracket, only facing competition against the number 3 seed, Yo, I'm Feinberg, in Grand Finals, where they would lose 1-3 in the first set before they finally won it all in the bracket reset 3-1 to secure their win. Later that week, our two big name weeklies of Swimmer Sync and Paddling Pool both ran their usual events, but we're going to start with Swimmer Sync this time because Paddling Pool had something a little bit more interesting going on. The 219th edition of IPL's Weekly saw a smaller turnout than usual with just 38 teams. Still nothing to scoff at, but a lot less than what you usually expect from the event. The winning team ended up being Sun Eater, a new high-level team that had quite a few strong placements in other events this week. Sun Eater had a pretty easy bracket, sweeping all the way to Grand Finals without breaking a sweat. There, they would face I Must Apologize, a strong pickup who had a pretty similar run to them. The set ended up going to a tight 3-2, but in the end, the Sun Eaters managed to lock it down and secure the win. For our final weekly, we of course have Paddling Pool, which ran a special golden edition for their 360th version, meaning the winners would earn a special golden badge for their profile and Sendu.ink. With one of these golden editions only running every few months, tons of strong players and teams made their way to try and claim that elusive badge, but none could keep up with EZMD. Following their win in last week's edition of the event, EZMD fairly easily swept their way through the bracket to earn their badge. This was incredibly impressive as their bracket was far from easy, having them face strong pickups and teams all the way up to Grands. There, they would face Mushroom, a PXG pickup with Kyo-chan and Jared subbing in for Gray. This was frankly an incredibly impressive set for EZMD as PXG is undeniably the strongest team in the Western scene, and even their subs are both world champions and multiple-time North American champions respectively, even if they are technically both retired. It wasn't even a close 3-2 back to the wall tight set either. It was a comfortable 3-1 for EZMD, painting the picture that they are a contender for one of the best teams in the West right now. Congrats on them for the win, and be sure to keep an eye on them. They're going places. Moving on from our weeklies, this week saw a pretty important LAN happening with Gatorland Spring 2026. Gatorland was the 4th qualifying event for the Splatoon 3 LAN Championship Showdown, a massive event where 12 winners of LANs across North America compete to see who's the real LAN champion. Last year's edition of the event was won by the qualifying team from Gatorland, so all eyes were on this one to see who would earn their slot. That team ended up being Super G, made up of Tacos, Taco, Nico Chico, and Nitro, and to be honest, it wasn't even close. The G's bodied this event, going completely undefeated and sweeping their way through the winner's side to claim their well-earned spot. Congrats to them, we cannot wait to see you compete in the main events later this year. Speaking of major tournaments, we were treated by the Area Cup team to another amazing edition of the event this week with Area Cup number 54. This edition saw perhaps the strangest and most unique Grand Finals we've seen in a long time, with both teams using just fascinating comps of weapons. The winning team of Mashiyupion was using a very unique composition centered around E-Leader, but not just any E-Leader, the scoped custom E-Leader, like the one with Beacon and Kraken. The team used the typical Tri-Slosher Novu that you'd expect from a leader team and rounded the team out with a Zimmy, which is strong and fits pretty well into the team's playstyle, and rounded it out with a Carbon Roller? Yeah. The team was using the Carbon Roller Deco to provide upfront burst kills while the leader provided long-range burst kills, essentially creating a weird dynamic where you can kinda get popped at any range value. And with the support of the N-Tri and Zimmy, Mashiyupion managed to comfortably get their win. By the way, the second placing team was using Snipe Rider, 96 Gal, Neo Luna Blaster, and Reflux Deco. Yeah, it was a wild set, and you should absolutely go watch it. Link is in the description as always. Pivoting back to the Western scene, Trine Cup number 137 was as stacked as always, bringing in a hefty 27 teams for the EU Classic. The winning team of Stateside, made up of Sunny, Cap, Zach, and Kiki, actually had a pretty tough event, losing to the Agency in a close 2-3 in upper finals. This was followed by another close set against an EasyMD and Super Fighting Me Team Supreme pickup in lower finals, which would end up going to Stateside in a 3-2 victory, putting them into grand finals to try and take their revenge on the Agency. With momentum on their side, Stateside did manage to take the first set a little bit more comfortably with a 3-1, but they'd have to win one more against the Agency to get the W. And that second set was close, trading games back and forth all the way up to Game 5, where Stateside finally managed to take their well-earned win. For our final event of the week, we had a surprise major pop-up, Heaven to Ocean Season 4 Gold. The event offered some pretty significant prizes for top placing teams, which helped to draw in the vast majority of top level talent in the Western scene. The usual suspects you'll find in an event like this all made their way out, including Healthy Diet Food Groups, EasyMD, Ascension, Sun Eater, and more. Grand finals fell between two pickups of the best in the West, being Azure, made up of Zenith, Thunder, Yoshell, and Volti, and, pardon my French, Spray Ansei Volti Efficades 24 Hurus, made up of Noah, Gray, Sumaru, and Nemu. Azure had a close loss to the Sprayers in the upper finals, sending them down to the lower bracket for a quick match against the second, more sinister French team of Nonchalance Extreme, ending in a 3-1 and getting Azure their slot in the finals. There, they'd faced down Spray once again, and riding their momentum off lower bracket finals, they managed to secure a comfortable 3-1 to bring it to a bracket reset. There, with momentum on their side, Azure seemed unstoppable, and they lost 0-3 to get second. Just as Gray does, he decides that he wanted to win the event, and then they won that event, taking home the gold and the $150 cash prize for his team. Shoutouts to them for the win, shoutouts to Azure for the impressive games, and shoutouts to you for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, consider becoming a channel member if you want to support our work, and we'll see you, same time, same place, next week. Thanks for watching.